Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and all of you are the co hosts on this channel where we talk all things tabletop role playing games, especially fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons. And currently, we're going through a process of talking about monsters, which is why it's called Monster Mayhem. And I thought we would do something classic. Something sci-fi since it is Friday, because usually this is Future Friday, and we would talk about alien invasions and use that as our origin and motivation for all things role-playing games. Thank you very much there, guys. Oh, let me allow the chat to be viewed. Well, that is so weird that it doesn't let it kicks your comments out of the side, but whatever. Well, we'll deal with it. So, good morning there, Wayne and Mufa. Glad to see you guys here. Appreciate it. And everyone else, of course, Tesla and Dead Man's as the my two foundationals who helped me out a lot behind the scenes. I really appreciate that as well. Now, let's be clear, and this is a strange one here in classic Dungeons and Dragons, the idea of alien invasions in our fantasy world, and I'm talking sci-fi alien ships having an encounter into our classic fantasy Dungeons and Dragons, is not new. Both Pathfinder and classic Dungeons and Dragons have embraced this over numerous times. If I can think of the titles of a few produced modules, and these were not adventure setting, but they were actually what they used to call modules. World Breaker, I believe, was the title of one. City of Lights was another one. The Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, yet again, this was had to deal with that. I believe there was even hints of it in Spelljammer and Planescape. We all know that all the MIndflayers are a rip from the Cthulhuoid Lovecraftian style of elder beings from a distant star system or something flying in nautiloid spacecraft and whatnot. So this isn't anything new. And in Pathfinder, they the Inner Sea Guide in the beginning, and as it has moved on, involved a particular land where a spacecraft of some sort or alien force or something landed on the planet of Galarian, and proceeded to expand from there. So this isn't anything new. Tesla puts in a quote, "Humans of Earth, I come in peace. You need not fear me. I mean you no harm. However, it is important to note that most of you will not survive the next 24 hours. Galaxar, monsters versus aliens." Yeah. Now, one concept about us talking about alien invasion is that, okay, we don't need to destroy, throw away, rip up, and completely demolish our current setting, especially if you want to do this as a one-off. An alien invasion need not be successful or even particularly smart. So, sure, maybe if you wanted to include actual sci-fi hyperspace with laser cannon and power suit aliens into your fantasy world, they could arrive and go, "Oops, maybe we didn't bring enough people," or much like the television show that I hate watched called Debris that just got canceled after one season, where an accident could happen. In the show Debris, literally a alien spacecraft was detected on the edge of our edge of our solar system, and then 3 years later, that debris started impacting Earth, and so they didn't know like where the ship came from or what accident happened or something like that. So you don't need to do that. Now, as far as statistics for aliens, if you want to include sci-fi aliens in your fantasy, you really don't need to do that. Just reskin what's already there. So if they have laser cannons, maybe they're just wands. You know, if they're using power armor, just, I don't know, make it like mage armor or bark skin or something. Or they're literally riding inside the bodies of iron golems or some kind of animated armor or whatever. So just find something, erase the barcodes. But what I really want to get into is like, how do we use alien invasions for our monsters in our game? And now another, forgetting the science, the sci-fi part of it, alien invasion could be something as simple as the prototypical rift opens up to another dimension and bestial things flow into our world, i.e. the opening a portal into the nine hells or to the abyss, and those creatures come to Earth. Maybe that cult, maybe the PCs weren't involved and didn't even know about an evil cult that opened up a portal to the netherworld, and then all of a sudden monsters start spewing in. So I'm considering or classifying an invasion by any invasion force. Maybe there was something awakened. Now, I think an alien invasion is a bit different than, say, the classic zombie infestation, because with an alien invasion, usually there's some sort of motivating force from above. Now, the forces that are invading could be completely mindless or hive-minded or robots or much like insects, where individually they're not very smart, but collectively they're pretty brilliant. So you could have something like that, and those could be the foot soldiers or scouts or whatever. They're the crunchies that the players can beat upon. But an alien invasion usually has some sort of motivation. Are they here to collect resources or manipulate humanity or body snatch and replace all the humans? Usually there's some kind of aliens came from a distant place to do something on our world, on our Earth. And coming up with that reason in the beginning, you may not even have a reason for that. We've seen plenty of television shows and even movies where in the beginning our protagonists have no idea what's going on. But I like the idea of an alien invasion because maybe they're just completely alien and the player characters never really know what they want. It could be something, we've seen the tables turned where an alien force has landed on a planet to dominate it for the sole purpose of defending it and themselves from an even greater force at the end. I believe there was a Gene Roddenberry television show, and I can't remember the name of it. If you guys could come up with that name, where humans and aliens had come to like a little bit of an impasse, a little bit of a peace, and there was a human detective from the government, and then there was another. He had to partner with another agent that had some kind of like weird insectoid thing that was overlaid on like his neck and down his arm, and he was like a follower of these aliens or something. It was a weird thing like that, and so I don't remember. I know it was a Gene Roddenberry show, 3 seasons maybe at max. But anyway, what I like about the alien invasion is that we could have a motivation that the players don't know about. Was it Earth Final Conflict? Was that the name of it? I'm going to say yes because I can't remember it. And there were a number of shows with a name like that, like uh, Battle of the Stars or something like. I believe it was Final Conflict. Uh, and it didn't last long. They actually changed the protagonist halfway through the show. It was really weird and good idea, but real bad execution thing yet again. Um, but the other great thing about an alien invasion, as far as like throwing yourself some of your favorite monsters in, is that the alien force need not be all homogenized, right? You don't have to go, well, I guess we're going to have to pick type 2 demons and stick with that. Or I guess they're all Nagas and do that. No, you don't have to do that at all. Foot soldiers could be trolls and gibbering mouthers and griffins and all those kind of things. Like, because maybe they've brought with themselves workhorses and scouts and some kind of I don't know, protective force, like, displacer beasts or something, on chains while they walk around trying to herd the humans or whatever. And in this way, you can have a lot of different stories. Maybe the story isn't always a fetch quest, right? It's not always going after the magic MacGuffin to bring it back to a king or something. Maybe it's rescuing innocents or becoming a decoy or uncovering a little bit of hidden lore by more or less espionage. And I think I think there are many things other than fight the aliens to stop them that you can tell a lot of stories. We've seen this in a lot of the television stories more than movies, where the the storyline isn't really about the humans defeating the aliens. Overall, it is, but in little bits and pieces, it's about getting resources, saving people, maybe finding a new haven, escape. Again, espionage and sabotage and that kind of thing. Vampanoy mentions if you're going with the classic mind flayers, foot soldiers can be other races that were conquered by them. Exactly, exactly. And how devastating would it be for, like, if you want to make it very personal, player characters go back home because there's been an alien force of these mind flayers and their nautiloid ships, and maybe there's some kind of strange um, giant city-sized seashell that lands on a mountainside or something, and the crab-like nautiloids are crawling down the side of the mountain. I mean, crab-like mounts are crawling down the side of the mountain. Players go home and then they find out their loved ones have been mentally dominated, either like their eyes glow in a specific way, or they're like walking around like zombies, or there's some kind of insectoid thing attached to the side of their face with the little proboscises in their ears or something, and eyes, and through the back of their neck, whatever. And uh, get it off my uncle or whatever. And it's like, nope. Dead Man says Earth final conflict premise: when an alien species comes to Earth bearing gifts for humanity. Yep, that's it. A few suspicious humans seek to discover and resist the newcomer's true designs. And yeah, mind flayers actually fit pretty easily into that, because on one, of course, mind flayers look completely alien, and you definitely want to crush their face with a rock. But if they come bearing gifts, and so many there's so many of them arriving with, or at least maybe not the mind flayer population, but their agents are coming with so many of them, like kind of like a 300 in Xerxes. Hey, I've conquered all these other nation states and worlds or whatever. Please join with the hive. It could very well be that way. The other great thing about an alien invasion is you can very easily, as the dungeon master, turn the dial between letting the players look like badasses and completely overpowering them and forcing them to run. So, an example, let's go back with the troll example. So maybe trolls are their big foot soldiers or something, and they're like the workhorses. And the players come upon one or two of them. Let's say that they always have two as scouts. Maybe there's a death's head dog or something with them, and they roll around in these pairs with a death's head dog, a two-headed dog, and the PCs confront them, destroy them very easily. Okay, that's one thing. But maybe behind them, either through because of a hive mind, or they let out a scream or something, everybody knows, sure, you can take out the scouts, but behind them is a patrol, and the patrol are made up of 8 groups of these things, and then behind them is a platoon made up of 167, exactly 167, and behind them is a battalion, and and so on one hand, the players can be like badasses, like, oh, there's a scout, and they're going to find out where our innocent NPCs are hiding. Let's go ahead and destroy them, knowing that behind them, through evidence, history, interaction, or plain old NPCs giving them the lowdown on what the heck's going on, the player characters also might need to run and know that there's no way they can fight off this alien force by themselves. Vampanoy says in the Destiny game, thinking the video game, the enemy race taken our energy like beings made of defeated enemies. Oh, okay. Having PCs face against their fallen allies and important NPCs and former PCs. I like that idea, especially if it's wasn't that the kind of the plot mechanism of the movie Oblivion with Tom Cruise, where Tom Cruise is like has this believes he's working for the good guys, and there are these irradiated zones. And come to find out, when you cross the irradiate zone, he finds another clone of himself, and then he's been cloned by the bad guys, and that they are the aliens basically cloned and mimic the voices and bodies of the humanity's own people to use it against them. That's a very good weapon to use against your enemies. I mean, why wouldn't mind flayers like go into people's minds and go, "Oh, you what? This would cause you more stress? Sure, why not? Why not have your fallen allies and NPCs and former PCs, or heck, even some of your enemies that you've killed come back again, as whether they're risen through illusion or they're really their dead bodies were rejuvenated with protoplasm or whatever the case might be." Yeah. Mike Gould says it's tricky. It's a tricky balance when you introduce the word empire. If the invading aliens are from an empire, it had to become one for some reason. They had to be at least competent. I'm looking at you, Star Wars. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Although, let's be honest. Like, we could look at ourselves and go, yeah, you can still have a lot of political power and and still be pretty um still be like a comedy of errors as your own political system trips and falls over itself in idiocy. So and I'm looking at all sides. so so yes, it could be a fall of an empire as well. You know, the aliens come here and they're like, come to your fantasy realm, you know, disgorging out of their starships, and they're just like, we're here to take over, even though really what they're doing is they're lying, because they're like, our old empire fell and we're the last of our kind. We need to make a base of operations. Now, I still kind of hear fear in the minds of some world creators out there going, I'm not giving my PCs laser weapons and force shields and a real starship. I'm not doing that. So I think that if you really want to insert sci-fi, listen, if they're going to land on a fantasy world, for the most part, there's a lot of very simple limitations we can throw in so that it's not as if you're handing over the reins to something that's going to destroy your setting. First of all, uh, what you know, my usual time, energy, resources, right? So, for example, a starship could land here and have no way to refuel itself. Maybe those yeah, I'm here. I did a. It's an old review, but on the channel, I still have my review of Expedition of the Barrier Peaks that I see people finding every now and again. Yep, an Expedition to the Barrier Peaks back in the '80s, mid '80s, was released, and Gygax literally is an adventure into a starship that happened to land. Somehow, it landed in the Barrier Peaks Mountains in the world of Greyhawk. Uh, to the west, to southwest on the map, if you got a map, and somewhere in there. And the player characters can find blaster weapons and laser cannons and healing sprays and power armor and scuba gear and all those kind of things, grenades and whatnot. But guess what? Once they run out of charges, you can't repair them. And there's literally no one around. There's no magic, there's no nothing to repair broken systems. And some of them didn't operate particularly well as the fact that I love the idea they included uh, especially the weaponry didn't look. I'm going to have to bring that module out. It didn't look like a gun, like rod handle, point, pull trigger. They didn't look like that. So in even though they had holdouts like imagery that you could hand out to the players, little pullouts things to hand out to them. It didn't look like what you would think it would look like. So you're looking at it and you're like, is this a weapon or something? I don't know. And so they had these tables to roll on based on your intelligence to figure out how it operated. You might shoot yourself in the face. It's stuff. There's some pretty funny things in that module, but yeah, you hand someone a laser cannon and it's got 12 charges in it. They get to shoot it 12 times and they're done. And remember, we're the DM. You don't have, just because it's a laser gun doesn't mean it's got to do 20d6 damage or something. You get to decide what it does. So whatever. Yep. Yeah, I'll get back to the comment. Yeah, Michael says, yeah, the little laser pistols look like punch daggers, if I remember correctly. And they had a healing spray that actually looked like a pistol, but it was like a pneumatic. You just put it against the skin and shoot it. And I believe there was like one laser cannon it had a perpendicular handle. It went east-west compared to pointing it at your enemy, and then it wrapped around the forearm, and then and the other part you put your shoulder through it, and then there was a square, almost like a TV monitor kind of thing over the shoulder, and that's where it shot through. And I was just like, what? It was cool because even as a dungeon master, I'm reading it, I'm just like, that's cool, because the players will never guess. They'll never guess what it is. And some of the stuff was all folded up. It's really pretty cool. Yeah, yeah. Or Earl Otis with the feet that always blended into the ground. Root feet. Anyway, Mike says, I like the idea of robots and constructs as foot soldiers. The invading machines might be inhabited by tiny beings like grubs and such, hiding the vulnerability of the actual race behind badass robots. I like filling monsters with other monsters, right? Like, yeah, they're running around in constructs and robots, but the real alien race might be, like you said, little grubs looking like maggots or something sitting inside of the machines. Battle. It was either Battle Beyond the Stars or, oh, I can't remember the television show. I love the way it ended. It was so dark, but it was a television show where humanity was fighting aliens, and they were dressed up in these like black, almost latex like oily suits. And to a man, every time humans would fight the aliens would die. They would never surrender. They would die. And I think that show lasted maybe 2 seasons, 3 seasons. And come to find out that humanity sent colony ships out to an alien world, and we landed on their birthing world. And they spent so much time and effort to get there. The government or the corporation decided to kill the babies of the other aliens. So the other aliens were in a proverbial like jihadist war against Earth for killing their young people for no reason. And the main characters found this out at the very end. And one of the characters was an android. And one of the government or corporation agents like used some kind of device and clicked a button, took over the mind of the android one of the main characters, who pulled out a pistol and one by one blew the back of the head out of all the main characters. Bang, 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 bang. Killed all the main characters, and then turned the gun on himself, essentially. And then you see the little space hab where it was supposed to be this diplomatic meeting between the aliens and humanity, and it blows up, and you realize that the battle's just going to keep on going. And they showed us the answer. And they completely killed everybody at the very end. Like, oh no, it's going to keep going, mother. Yeah. Mike Gould says the fall of the Grub Empire, Grub Empire, might be a result of its opponents finally discovering how little or soft or vulnerable they were without their mech suits. Hey, who's to say that? Listen, we love ourselves some mind flayers, but who's to say that those little grubs, each a power armored suit filled with 250, 1,687 of them inside of like some kind of, nasty fluid or whatever floating around in this mech suit, that each one of them will eventually go into a cocoon-like state and grow into a mind flayer, and that the mind flayers themselves won't go into their own cocoon-like state to turn into like a big brain or something. Like, sure, why not? And like you said, maybe the aliens are like, everywhere we go, we're like too vulnerable. So they're wearing these mech suits and everyone's like completely scared of them. And like you said, the Grub Empire fell because of it. Heck, they could have been kicked out because of how invasive they were to begin with. It would be pretty nasty for a big giant mechanized robot to take out some innocent people, and then some hatch opens up on a forearm, and then a little nasty fluidic you know, lands on the human being and goes down their throat or something, and uses them as an agent and pilots human beings like a mech suit, much like Attack on Titan. They're basically flesh mechs. They're naked flesh mechs. Now, the other thing that an alien invasion can do is make very strange bedfellows. So let's go with uh, Keep on the Borderlands, the Caves of Chaos, classic adventure B1 or B2. I can't remember which B1, I believe. And you know, you've got yourself an elf and a dwarf and a human being, and they are going off on an adventure, leaving the keep on the Borderlands, go to the Caves of Chaos, and there's kobolds and goblins inside the caves. And then just before they enter one of the caves, dope, everyone looks outside, pokes their head out the cave, and an alien force comes down, and maybe, just maybe, um, maybe the enemy of my enemy might flip the script on a fantasy world and have the players team up with, you know, your classic chaotic evil monsters who are like, yeah, we want death and destruction, but not like that. We're going to die just like you guys. Like, can you help? You know, the what's something pretty? I don't know. The bugbears are like, could you help save our people? You know? And like, you guys like throttling people and stringing them up with wire around their throats and hanging from the trees, and they're like, yeah, well, yeah, we do. Dear gods, Empire of the Ghoul Flies tonight on CBS. Doom doo doo. Michael says it's a 1950s black and white monster movie. And for those who don't know, Wayne brings up V, which made a comeback, not a very good comeback. And honestly, if you take a look at the original show, you might be a bit embarrassed. But in the television show V, much like Alien Nation and Earth Final Conflict, aliens come to Earth, they bring gifts, and there's this push and pull with some people being just completely not trusting the alien invaders at all, who look all human. And then there's the other humans that are like, sure, I'll wear I belong to the visitor's pin, and you know, basically kissed their boots, like lapped up everything they had to say. And it very much was. The original was campy, but we loved it at the same. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Even though it didn't turn out, the effects weren't very good. I still love the unhinging of the jaw and the eating of the live rat imagery of the show. I was just like, as a kid, I was like, what? Like Mike Gould says, Alien Nation District 9 failed invasions. Exactly. Like, an alien invasion doesn't need to be, we don't need to predict the further outcome of the alien invasion considering what it is. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to say, well, I'm going to insert an alien invasion in my fantasy game. That means it has to succeed. No, it doesn't. Like I said, they could have arrived and it's failed, or like Alien Nation, like District 9. What's the other one? Um, well, even Earth Final Conflict. The reason that they're here might not be the reason we think they're here. You know, clearly in District 9 and Alien Nation, the aliens themselves were at a disadvantage when they arrived. Now, we may label them both alien and an invading force, but technically neither one of them. I mean, yes, they are alien, but the second part of that, the invasion force, technically they weren't invading. They were just like, we're refugees. We don't know what the heck happened. Tesla puts in the Discord, an alien invasion, and considering the aliens in question, a particularly grisly one, is predicted to be coming soon in the standard Pathfinder setting. The setting's ancient Egypt fantasy counterpart culture, Osirian, was linked to the eldritch abomination backed omnicidal maniac alien empire known as the Dominion of the Black. And the aliens in question left behind clocks counting down to a time in the near future. A highly respected scholar has translated a word that is included in all these clocks. The word is harvest. I wasn't there another realm in the Pathfinder Inner Sea setting that was turned into its own empire because of an alien crash landing? I can't remember. I have to bring out the book. I would have to go in my other room, and I'm not doing that. But yeah, um, yeah, and an alien invasion need not be completely alien and an invading force. For example, what if elves and dwarves and all those kind of things came from other worlds in your fantasy setting? I mean, we classically we know we have stars, moons, and other astrological events. Why can't there be other fantasy counterparts on moons and other planets in your world? Why not? You know, Michael says, heck, if you want to try your hand at science fantasy, Titan's Grave, yep, Green Ronin Games is a very much a mix of D&D and a lizard empire. Or you could explain in your world that elves are alien invaders from the Feywild, or dwarves arrived in massive stone ships that are now mountains, etc. Exactly. Like, in a way, having dwarves and elves, using them as examples, orcs are could be extremely alien, especially if you start to tweak the society and the culture, the biology and whatnot. Make them alien. Make them literally alien. What was the? Oh, you guys have to remind me. The elves, elf quest, the graphic novels, the elf quest books. Those elves were alien. They were traveling, they were using psychic energy to travel through the multiverse, and they ended up landing on prehistoric earth, and they were beat about the head and shoulders. Riffs, yeah, riffs. Mm-mm-mm. Or Rifts. Rifts definitely is an alien invasion force. Ley lines and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but ElfQuest is an alien encounter series, and many generations later, they were like basically a third of their size and with some psychic powers and things like that, running around in prehistoric Earth. Vampanoy mentions, I like the idea of Unity from Rick and Morty. Can have an alien hive mind that procreates by mentally linking with other creatures. Described as autoerotic assimilation, perfect for those horny bards. Yep, bards are like, give it to me, get into my mind. I've got a little poetry for you. Yeah, To Serve Man, The Twilight Zone. Yeah. So what are you reading? How to Serve Man. Why are you putting salt and pepper on my shoulder? Poke, poke, poke. Not quite done yet. Not quite done. The Mike Gould says the hobgoblins of Thol are literally invaders from its distant moon of chaos. Yep. Yep. Why not? You know what's weird? Why don't we fantasy worlds tend to have an Earth and aerial astrological or celestial events, but we often don't have them or things coming from distant moons and planets onto our fantasy world. Maybe it's a little too science fantasy, even though most fantasy was science fantasy at one point. There was no differentiation till recently, but recently meaning like 60s, 70s, 80s. But yeah, why not? Why not have a, I don't know, the elemental plane of Earth literally be like a moon, and the elemental plane of fire is literally the sun or something like that. Could be. Michael says lizardfolk could be a failed invasion of dinosaur people who lost all tech and became savage. Also, a great explanation for the conflicting origins behind Dragonborn. Yep, and for that pesky druid player character that's bothering you and pissed off that they can't play a T Rex because you're like, T-Rexes don't exist in my world. Maybe they do. Maybe this is how you differentiate lizard folk from dragonborn, or dinosaurs from dragons themselves. One could be a fantasy lizard-like creature, like a dragon on this planet, and dinosaurs could be an invading force from another planet, having developed on two different planetary sources. Dragons being embarrassed and red-faced because of their savage brethren or something. If you even wanted to include that. The Dead Man says, check out Astromundi cluster. It includes the origin of the MIndflayers or the Illithids. I didn't know that. Although I kind of don't like knowing the origins of some things. I think some things should be left to mystery. Listen, you can't avoid the fact that we love ourselves elder gods and MIndflayers and Lovecraftian horror. So yeah, I didn't know that there was something called Astromundi cluster, but of course there would have to be, because not only our obsession with it, but with Spelljammer opening up the doors to players, traveling the phlogiston and all that kind of business, and the ether, the aether. Mike Gould says, well, long story. Thul had two moons, but thanks to player actions, the larger and closer one was destroyed, and the smaller one was drawn into its place. Imagine a galactic war between dragons and giants, huge craft and battle stations warring world to world. Destructions of a world. Like I said, in an alien invasion, they may have their own reasons for, arriving, whether it is destruction of their home world, the fall of their empire, a larger, more powerful force coming from behind them. Maybe even they were traveling the planes of existence and found a portal to the abyss or the nine hells or something, and they were like, oops, we tried to close the door behind us real real quietly and we couldn't do it. Run, help us out. Also, again, if you want to throw in some really strange things like laser weapons, or anti-gravity vehicles or something like that, or machines, machine intelligences into your fantasy realm, let's do it. And again, don't feel like you need to don't allow the idea of this, if you want to incorporate it, to feel like it's going to destroy your world. Just reskin what already exists and be done with it. That's what I say. Vampanoid says, dinosaurs as aliens? I'm laughing at imagining a T-Rex in a spacesuit that's angry because it's trying to eat the PCs, but it can't get its helmet off. Little short stubby hands. Help me get my helmet off. The PCs are like, run. T-Rex is like, help me. And that's why they keep going after the PCs. They're like, I can't scratch the back of my head. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, man. You guys are silly. Think back to Lilo and Stitch. Mm-mm. They were literally raptors in spacesuits. That's pretty hilarious. That's funny. How about all that artwork with laser cannons strapped around dinosaurs and all that kind of business? I mean, if you want to go really bonkers, I suppose that could be a thing. But also, if you wanted to open up your game world to other concepts like zero gravity or radiation or power sources, right? Like that might be a thing that is another it's another monkey wrench thrown into your fantasy realm, especially if there are, like, for example, maybe the aliens have psychic powers. They're just reskins of magic powers, which I've always said, if you wanted to include psionics in the game, it already exists. you All you have to do is just reskin what's there. That's just me. That maybe I'm just too simplistic, or maybe I'm just too stupid to make money at it. But uh, you really don't need to have a whole different rule set for psychic powers, because of course every alien species has psychic powers. You almost rarely have them alien species in sci-fi arrive with magic. It's usually psionics or something, but yeah, but you could do the same thing. Like they have mind control, they have charm person, or hold monster, or zone of truth, and things like that as psychic powers. Mike Gould says there was a storyline in Star Trek Voyager where a distant reptilian race thought ancient dinosaurs were religious heresy. Ooh, that could be something where an alien species picks up on a fantasy realm, and they are here to destroy the gods, or at least the imagery of the gods, because that's how their people were destroyed. Or maybe they were uh maybe the gods used them as an experiment and then just forgot about them, and they're like, we're going to destroy them because you left our culture in shambles or whatever. Keith Parkinson had a great piece of art for Gamma World. Ooh, Gamma World, where there was a cybernetically enhanced dragon. Terrifying. I go back to I go back to Dead Man or Riffs. Yeah, cyber dragons and techno ninjas and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff was thrown into Riffs. It's pretty crazy. The Again, if you wanted to incorporate like cybernetics and computers and things of that nature, a reskin would be cool. But also, maybe that's just how to. I'm trying to think of a way to describe this. So the same effect from two different sources may allow us as creators to deal with the world laterally instead of vertically. What I mean is, there's a fear of a mistake often made by creators is, what is it called? It's where spectacle creep. Oof, man, my brain. Spectacle creep is where it's not enough that the player characters fight and defeat one dragon. Spectacle creep is now they're gonna have to fight seven dragons. It's spectacle creep is always making the numbers higher and higher, and it becomes like an arms race. So while many people don't like first level, oh, I've got 10 hit points, and the enemy we're fighting has 100 hit points. It it's not much difference than my character having 100 hit points and the enemy having 1,000. Right? It's just it's creeping up at the exact same level balance, which kind of defeats the purpose in my mind. I quickly realized, like that's not, there's nothing new there. All you're doing is adding zeros. And but if you move laterally, meaning like wizards cast burning hands, but an alien race arrives and they're using flamethrowers that use the exact same concept, which would be a reskin burning hands. You're not increasing the threat level, but what you're doing is you're laterally expanding the capabilities of the people in your world, so that on one hand, a wizard's casting a burning hand spell, but on the other hand, maybe that arcane knight's got a flamethrower thrown over their shoulder and they're using a plasma cannon to do the exact same thing. Neither one is creeping the power level up. You're just expanding it sideways. Much like Shadowrun, right? Shadowrun has hacking and maneuvering on the digital plane, plugging yourself into the World Wide Web, and then there's also the astral plane. Right? There's two different planes of existence. One's not better than the other. They're just two mechanisms to engage in the world. So it could be convoluted, but it doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be more powerful. Sorry, segued on that. Michael says, player one, you just cast a spell. Player two, actually, it's a transplanar diffusion created by somatic and material conjugation. Player one, what? What? Exactly. Like maybe my wizard isn't casting a spell. I'm using, I don't know, what's a way to create. Oh, my instead of a dark vision spell, I'm activating a cybernetic implant that allows me to see in the dark or something. I don't know how do you explain that, or whatever. I don't know. I guarantee you, give it 10 minutes, and you could probably come up with ways to incorporate how you would incorporate like cybernetics and hacking and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we've already seen that in the Unearthed Arcana and other Dungeons and Dragons supplements that incorporated like techno magic and all that kind of business. What is it? Genesis. What is it called? I can't remember the 5e compatible one about the intergalactic empire. And I've got the PDF. It's a shame they couldn't get that book off the ground. Anyway, Vampanoid says PC the alien with psionic magic. Is it possible to learn this power? Responds, not in this edition. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I'm just cheap. Maybe I'm too cheap for my own good, but I'm like, yeah, you really don't need a whole separate mechanism for psionics. That's just me. I get it. If you own the original player's handbook, and in the back of the book, or was it the Dungeon Master's Guide? Anyway, in the back of the book, Esper Genesis. Thank you, Esper Genesis. Woo. I'm glad you guys can't smell it, because my brain just like smoke starts coming out of my ears, and you get that battery smell with like the all the gears just grinding together, and it smells bad like an old RC game, racing game. Michael says dark vision spells temporarily summoning a lens in front of your eyes that creates the effect. Oh hell yeah, you could come up with so many. That's not a magic missile. That's I don't know, a back mounted laser cannon that pops over my shoulder. Tesla's like, yeah, you want to learn psychic powers? Not from a Jedi. Not from a Jedi. The Tesla, you're so silly. I'm looking at the Discord. Dead Man brings up the Dino Riders series from 1988. Look at that picture. Dinosaurs with laser cannons and missiles and stuff. Star Wars. How many more lightsabers can we fit into the next movie? Yeah. And if that wasn't enough, why don't we give one of the main bad guys in the sequels a lightsaber with crossguard blades? Star Destroyers? Now there's the Force Awakens, destroying planets but whole solar systems. How do you stop Starkiller Base and Death Star 2? Yep. Ramming always works. Never mind whether it's a lone A-wing against the Superstar Destroyer's bridge. Yep, ramming always works. How can we improve the lightsaber duels for each movie? Well, for the originals, as we progress, we make them faster and more intense. For the prequels, we make them even faster due to the warriors having more formal training, and then combine these two styles for the sequels. Yeah. Sometimes, sometimes spectacle creep. More often than not, spectacle creep just makes things worse, because you can never ramp back what you've already put forward, and it's kind of masturbatory in a creative sense of like, oh, it's the Dragon Ball Zing of a world, and you don't really want to do that. It's like, oh, I'm more powerful than you. Okay, you're more powerful than me. Okay, I'm more powerful than you. And you're like, yeah, but it's very simple. Magic Missile brought to you by Hammer Industries. I call it the ex-wife. Yeah. Oh man, I love that actor. He's so stupid. He's so sarcastic. Yeah. All right. Okay. Here's a list. I'm going to get your comment in a minute, Vampanoid. But Michael says guiding bolt, tracer fire with homing beacon. Okay. Fireball, a napalm bomb. Lightning bolt, particle projection cannon. The light cantrip, a glow stick. Shake. Click. Shake. With a carabiner, clip it onto the front of your uniform. All right, I've got my light spell. Yeah. Vampanoid mentions artificers literally make inventions that are like magic. I homebrewed want to be a cook. Need dark vision? have some carrots. Yeah, and you know what? There's even what's isn't there an artificer or art? I'm going to call it artificer just to piss you guys off. Isn't there an artificer version that's like power armor? I mean, and heck, you could a gnome. How many times have people played gnomes where their magic is just devices? Like they've got the raw pieces and they put them together to create a device that does a thing. So we're not too far off from alien design. Yeah, Golem armor, and yep, Golem armor would be perfect. You could very easily reskin that. It's okay. So Golem armor, like whether it's like the different types, iron golems and so on, animated armor, things like that, and then there could be creatures on the inside of them. Why the heck not? And of course, like Michael says, yeah, there's one in Tasha's. Yep, absolutely. So honestly, we really don't need to. It's funny because we really don't need to stretch that far to find the. Let's just say the concept of an alien invasion isn't that far away, right? It really isn't that far away. Michael says, I would love to play a goblin artificer in a rickety mech suit. It has no engine, but still trails black smoke like the Green Goblin glider. Yeah, remember the classic Green Goblin glider would just like belch black smoke everywhere it was flying on it, and you're like, how the hell is this damn thing flying so cool, belching out black smoke? But anyway, that was so cool though. Yep. Vampanoid's like, this is my golem armor named Precious, spelt like not the mechanized thing, but Gollum of the One Ring. Yeah, this is my Precious, flying around. As a matter of fact, in A Dead Man's Guide to Dragon Grin, it's a third party created by Absolute Tabletop, and I have the book. In it, there is a race that's kind of a combination of like halflings and gnomes and goblins, and they were in the setting. They were the mechanics that kept alive these people known as the Titans. They were basically mechanized gods, and they weren't flesh and blood. They were, well, mechanical, and the race of people were the ones that were tasked with keeping the gods uh, lubricated, I guess you could say. And of course, the gods had fallen, and their mechanized bodies fell to the earth, but the people still lived, and so you can play one of them. So there is a there is there. I mean, as an alien invasion type of idea, that's a great one as well, where players are part of the alien invasion, but they're just a small cog in a big machine. District 9 is a good version of that, where in District 9 the aliens don't really have much control over or reason. Like they're like, we don't have power armor and weaponry that we can use to take over people. It just happened to be on the same ship, which I wish there was a District 10, because to answer that question, like, well, why didn't they just pick up the weapons and use them? I don't know, getting treated the way they were. But Michael says, I once asked the GM if I could play a Jawa Jedi who rode a hover bike that smoked the same way. No, he said, Jawas cannot be Jedi. Sad music. Doom, 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 doom. Mm. Um, I could care less if you want to play something. I never understand DMs that are just like, well, I do understand if it breaks the narrative. I would be against something that's completely ridiculous, but if it's fun and it's just a narrative element, I'm just like, the answer is yes. Now we just have to come up with why, right? Usually my answer default is yes, but like yes, but let's figure out how we're going to do this. It's the whole argument that flame war about the combat wheelchair, and I'm just like, why? I don't want to bring that up again, but it's just like, really, like, what's the point in arguing about that? So what? You say yes, and then we figure out how to do it. Mike says, blending yesterday and today, an invading force of Koatoa could have high tech because they believe it works. It's a great way to introduce tech that cannot work for others, much like Warhammer Orcs. Oh, yeah, very much. You could have, I suppose, the movie Aquaman, if you need a visual as well, kind of fits into that category. Like, we have weapons that operate off of seawater, and you're like, really? Really that's weird. And of course, they could have high technology for them, but not for anyone else. Let's see if it came out. Oh yeah, Tesla Rangers. Neil Blomkamp. Yep, February 26, 2021. District 10 screenplay also being written by at Sharlto, because he's the main character in that movie, and Terry Tatchell. It's coming. Ooh. Terry Tatchell and I. Neil Blomkamp. And that was in February, so we'll have to see the development of that. Because I figured District 10 was kind of I would love to do it, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I think they'll probably have to write it's one of the limitations on that is it's been too long. Like, I think we all love District 9, and I think if they do it, people will come back to see it, i.e. spend money on it. But it's been too long. They should have pumped that out 2 to 3 years afterwards. They should have got right on that real quick, especially as cheap as it was to produce that darn movie. It with great effects and stuff. Yeah, yeah. I wish you luck there, Blomkamp, because your other Elysium didn't do too well, and Chappie was. I don't know. Also, listen, in Eberron we have the Warforged. What a great way to have origins for other player type characters, like things that fell from the sky. Hey, my paladin found, I don't know, like a Jedi laser weapon or something, whatnot. So yeah, there are ways to do alien invasion and still include it in fantasy. Um, yeah, oh, me too. Mike's like, I love that District 9 battle mech. Catching a missile in the air and all that stuff. And the way it was shaped, it was kind of I don't know, kind of crawfish like shape with the backwards bending legs. I love that kind of stuff. Very, very much reminded me of the robot from RoboCop, the original RoboCop, with the backwards facing legs and the walking and like Robotech as well. And it's just, I don't know. That was just a great movie. That just, yeah, they should have started working on District 10. The studio, when all that money came in, and the love for that movie, because something that it's very District is the ED 109. Yeah, drop your weapon. I love that boardroom scene. They're all like trying to hit the keys and fix stuff. You have 10 seconds to comply. And then one guy looks over at the other one and is like, I guess there's an opening now. Whatever. I love those sarcastic boardroom scenes are just great. That's just sorry. I know that's a segue. Sorry about that. I squirreled. Squirrel. Michael says there's an actual mech in BattleTech that looks a bit like it, although it's about 30 feet tall. Yeah. Yeah, the Ed 10 the Ed 109. Yeah, couldn't go down the steps. Drop your weapon. Oh my goodness. Anyway, we've come to the end. Listen, we've seen enough alien invasion movies to know that there's a lot of story there. Whether it's sabotaging a factory that's spewing out alien battle armor, or the Lovecraftian mental intrusion of alien species, whether there's slugs or insects invading people's minds, or there's mind control, and of course there's going to, adding in the fact that human beings might feel that they are saviors to the planet, and of course allowing player characters to play one, like, members of the alien force that has come to this world. I mean, for example, if 1,000 years ago elves landed on your world, why not role play through the moment that they they arrived? Mike says found it. Wolfen. Is that where is that from? Please describe. Throw that in chat. Wolfen sounds freaking familiar. Um, is that alien invasion of werewolves? That sound. I'm thinking of a different. Maybe I'm thinking of a different movie. I think Cats was kind of like that. Oh, that's the name of the battle mech called the Wolfen. Oh, okay, okay. Sorry, my brain went somewhere else because I was thinking of other intellectual properties. But anyway, you guys get the point. Again, like I said, don't be afraid. If you wanted to really throw this in as a grenade into your world. Yes, I am thinking of the horror movie Wolfen, which is spelled with an O instead of the U. Yes, I'm thinking of the horror movie Wolfen. And I was like, was that from was there Origin Alien? Because I could swear cat people, I believe the cat people were were kind of alien in that movie. Urban, yeah, Wolfen, they were urban werewolves. Yep. Okay, so again, just basically scrub off the barcodes and the names. You can very easily put in things like that are high tech. Just mimic them as spell capabilities and player character capabilities, as well as the fact that an alien invasion need not be all aspects of both alien and invading. Although yeah, too many. Yeah, Wayne's like too many werewolf women of the SS movies. Yeah, they were a little. What were they? Soft core porn, essentially mixed in with horror, getting away with them being like horror. Which that's a big trope in horror movies themselves. Maybe we could talk all week about that. Anyway, yeah, Dead Man's like Mad Cat would be probably be a better example. Oh, well. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I believe next week we will try to flow back into the normal pattern. Monster Monday, Trope Tuesday, Tuesdays, World Building Wednesday, Third Pillar of Exploration Thursdays, and Future Fridays. We'll try to get back into that norm. Thank you so much for just being part of it. The expected Kickstarter origin will probably be in October for N World for the Level Up 5e or Advanced 5th edition. So I'm hoping that that's the issue. That's Timberwolf to you. um the, just be aware of that. Guys, thank you very much for just be there. Thank you there, Wayne. Yeah. Thank you. He said smash that like button. Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. Please do the whole things. Like, share, subscribe, comment, blah, blah, blah. Do the whole nine things. Back to Wayne's comment. But anyway, thank you very much. I like Wayne mentioned before, if the channel gets too big, I really wouldn't be able to respond to most, if barely any of the comments. But I don't know. I feel like I'm in a sweet spot, so whatever. And ooh, yep, I absolutely can check out the post-human Discord. Why didn't your comment did not appear? That is really strange. I can't highlight it. That's really weird. So I guess that's just the way to get out of here. Anyway, guys, everybody have a great one. I will see you guys bright and early Monday morning. Have a great one. I'll see you.